Yo, what is going on, guys? And welcome back to the channel. My name is Hart, and I will be breaking down my favorite picks and plays for this Thursday night football first game of the NFL season tomorrow. Can't wait. NFL is back. Super pumped. I know it's been a minute since I posted on my channel, a little over 2 months, but we are back covering the NFL season. I'll be going over my favorite picks and plays for every single NFL slate. That is right. Every single NFL slate, I have you guys covered. So Monday night football, Thursday night football, Sunday regular slate, Sunday night football, and Monday night football. I think I already said that. But you get the point. We have you covered. I have you covered for every single slate. My favorite picks, my favorite plays, my breakdowns, all the good stuff, all for free on this YouTube channel. I will start having some, paid content on my Patreon, but that'll come at a later time. But right now, everything is free, and everything will be free for the whole season. I got you guys covered. So yeah, let's get into this breakdown. Just want to say thank you guys to all you returning viewers and all you new viewers. If you guys hit that like button and subscribe, would really, really appreciate it. First video back in a while. So hopefully this gets pushed out to you guys. I know YouTube's a little bit slow when it comes to, taking a break from your channel and putting videos back out. So being on a little bit of a runway to gain back there. But yeah, let's jump right into this breakdown here for this game. So obviously we have Detroit versus Kansas City, first game of the season tomorrow night. So absolutely thrilled. It should be a fantastic game. Obviously, the big news right now is obviously Travis Kelsey hurt his knee, hyperextended it. He's still listed questionable as of right now, which is, a little less than 24 hours before the game starts. So I wish I had the news there, but I will, kind of go over different ways we can attack it based on the news that will probably come out tomorrow morning on whether, Kelsey plays or not. Maybe they hold it until the game. Hopefully not. But if they do that, I'll have some plays on my Twitter you guys can go over, which reminds me, it's Twitter, not X. Get over it. But make sure to follow me there on Twitter at HeartDFS. And then if you guys haven't already, follow Underdog NFL on Twitter. They will have you guys covered with up-to-date news every single day for every single player that is fantasy relevant. So they're a great follow. If you guys haven't already, you should make a Twitter. If you don't, make a Twitter and follow at least Underdog NFL if you do play NFL DFS, so you're up to date with all the news. But yeah, for this game tomorrow, 4.5 point spread favored to the Chiefs. 53 game total should be a huge, huge high scoring game here. And breaking it down the Detroit side first here. So on the Detroit side, obviously, if you're going to be playing this tomorrow, you want to win the $1,000,000 at first. How do you do that? You get different. You do not want to join this contest with 296,000 other people and hold hands. Sure, winning it could be tens of thousands of dollars, maybe 100,000, depending on what the lineup is. But for the most part, with this many people, there's a good chance that it will be split, 50, 100, maybe even more ways. And that means the less money you win. So if you want to win it all, you have to be unique. And we can do that in a few different ways in this video. But for this Detroit side, obviously, Amon-Ra St. Brown, we know what we're going to get from him. Probably close to 10 targets, if not more, a game. He's just a great slot wide receiver. He puts up, just a ton of fantasy points. He's very consistent. He does have a huge ceiling as well. In a game where the Chiefs are favored, obviously, if Kelsey's out, I think the Chiefs would still be favored by a few points. Doesn't really matter though. So, I think Amon-Ra Brown will see a great, great, steady income of passing attempts, targets. I just think, as we all know, the safest option on this team is going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown, 15.3K. You could put him at captain. I don't want to because I like to get very different in the captain spot, be a little bit more contrarian. But we know he's got the safest floor on the Detroit side and probably the highest ceiling as well. So he looks like a great play, but he's not like a necessity to have. Moving on to Jared Goff. I'd almost prefer him in the captain spot to Amon-Ra. It's one of those games where, Lions should be playing from behind. If that happens, he's going to have to pass a ton. He's a very solid QB last year. Kind of his, not MVP, but Super Bowl kind of run he had a few years ago with the Rams. That's what he kind of looked like. So he does have a ceiling. I don't mind getting to him here in the showdown slate. Gibbs, I really don't know what to do with the running backs right now. Obviously, there's that quote that Gibbs may not see a full workload. They're going to be smart with him. We might see him in ways that we don't really think we would see him. Just a bunch of weird random quotes when it comes to Gibbs. So I don't mind him getting to him in the captain spot there or the flex spot. It's just you're playing the fire. You really don't know what you're going to get with him. And as we saw with the running backs last season for Detroit, they are not afraid to use multiple running backs, two, if not three, which could really hurt the price tag here for Gibbs. So for that reason, I think he's more of a risky flex play and a super risky captain play. I'm personally probably not going to go there. I play usually 1 to 3 lineups. Maybe I'll have them in one. But if you're playing a ton of lineups, 10, 20 plus lineups, 150, you're maxing it out. Obviously, you want a good amount of him, but if you're playing like a single entry or if you're playing just a few entries, I don't think it's necessary to go to Gibbs just because he's super risky with that backfield of David Montgomery. They could also bring in, where is he? Craig Reynolds. So I'm not personally going to him, but he's there. David Montgomery, if you're going to a running back, I think he'd be my personal favorite. He's a guy who can catch the ball. He can get some targets out of the backfield. He's a solid runner. I know we didn't see it last year with the Bears. Technically, I think he's one of the worst runners in terms of like expected yards after contact or something like that. But I really just think he was just in a bad situation. The Bears still, as we can see, he can go for 15, 20 plus fantasy points. So he could fall in the end zone. We know they're going to use him. He's a lot bigger than Jahmyr Gibbs. So David Montgomery will probably be that goal line back. And as we saw last season, DeAndre Swift could get them all the way down the 5 yard line, and then they'd throw in Jamal Williams. So the Lions aren't afraid to go with the bigger back. So for that reason, I do like David Montgomery a good amount. He can also catch the ball. I know Jahmyr Gibbs is supposed to be like a special pass catcher out of the backfield, but I still think I really prefer David Montgomery for the price discount here compared to Gibbs. I'm going to switch to the flex pricing, so it makes it a little bit easier to see. Marvin Jones Jr. going to be wide receiver 2 here. I don't mind him. He's more kind of like a risky dart throw play. I don't know if I'd put him in the flex. He really doesn't have that high of a ceiling. You'd really need and hope for him to go off, which could happen. It just I'd feel a lot safer going to a guy like Montgomery, maybe Gibbs, but Brown and Goff in the captain spot for me. Don't know if I'd be willing to take a shot on Marvin Jones. Obviously, as I said before, if you're playing multiple lineups, you could definitely take that shot. But if you're playing a few, I don't think you need to get super risky with Marvin Jones. I'd rather go to some other wide receivers on the Kansas City side. Excuse me. Moving down, the tight end situation. So the tight end situation is an interesting one. Sam LaPorta is going to be the tight end 1 for the Lions. I know a lot of people are all over him, thinking he could be a solid play tomorrow night, which is true. He could definitely be a captain play. It just comes down to I don't know if Jared Goff throws a ton to the tight ends, as we saw last season when TJ Hawkinson got traded. As you can see, it was pretty much a split rotation. Obviously, Brock Wright was kind of the main tight end there. As you can see, there's some games where they're pretty split even in terms of snap percentage. And then when you look at target share over the course of the season, obviously TJ Hawkinson ate up some targets throughout the weeks there. But when it came to Brock White and Shane Zylstra, they didn't see a ton of targets, and they had a good 5 to 6 games, if not more, without TJ Hawkinson with him being traded. Where still Jared Goff just not throw to him. You could say that's just because they're not the best or whatever it may be. LaPorta is a good pass catching tight end, but it just Goff is not super prone on throwing it to the tight ends. We know they have Amon-Ra, they have Gibbs, they have David, they have Marvin Jones. I don't think Goff is going to be looking to Sam LaPorta a ton, but I still think he's viable. You can definitely go in the captain spot or a flex spot. He's just, I think, a super risky play for me that I'm not personally going to play, but he's there. But as I said, the tight end situation is a little precarious when it comes to the Lions. He could be tight end 1 and still not really get involved in the offense. We'll have to wait and see, but for that reason, he's more of a stay away from me. In terms of the kickers, obviously kickers are always in play. You can go to the mid 4,200. They're always a safe option, especially in the flex spot, so I don't mind going to them. And then in terms of the defense, obviously they're a cheap play. They obviously start with, I think, 10 fancy points. It just depends. If they get that lucky touchdown, defensive touchdown, that really helps out. But otherwise, in a game that's 53-point game total, I don't think it's necessary to go to the line. Any defense, whether it's the Chiefs or Lions, just because. But according to Vegas, they're going to give up a ton of points, and you really need them to score a defensive touchdown to have it even be worth it. Otherwise, they're going to give up too much points to even be in a multiple or in a winning lineup. Reynolds, I don't mind taking a shot on him or Khalif Raymond. I think Khalif would be my favorite one, just in terms of He's very cheap. Where'd he go? And he will get run. Like he's probably fringe wide receiver 3 with Josh Reynolds. But as you can see, he was involved a decent amount last season. He was second in terms of target share percentage on the Lions. I know Amon-Ra had some injuries. I know the Lions' whole wide receiver crew had a ton of injuries, so he did see some more snaps than usual throughout the season. But I still like him. $800 for a very cheap guy in the flex. He could see a few targets a game, and he has that big playability. So I don't mind getting to him. Obviously, a very low floor, but he could get you 10 plus fantasy points, would really help out in the flex spot. So I think right now he's my favorite play, risky play here on the Lions side. And I'm assuming he'll be decently popular tomorrow, especially in this high scoring game. So for that reason, I'm going to throw him in right now and kind of go from there. Moving on to the Kansas City side. I do apologize if this video is long. First one back. Trying not to ramble as much, but we'll get through it. Obviously, on the Chiefs side, the big news here is KELCE, but Patrick Mahomes. If KELCE's out, it's going to be really hard not to get to Patrick Mahomes in the captain spot, just because he's going to be distributing the ball to multiple guys on that team. It's not really going to be extremely siloed to KELCE like it would if KELCE was going to play. So it would just make Patrick Mahomes more viable in the captain spot. Obviously, more people will go to him in the captain spot if there's no KELCE. If there is KELCE, Mahomes obviously still viable in the captain spot. I prefer him in the flex. We know that the floor and the ceiling for him are just insane, especially in game ones. I think the past 4 or 5 years in game ones, he's almost averaging. I think he's probably averaging three touchdowns and 300 yards in game ones to start off the season. So he's been unreal going against a terrible Detroit defense. Really like him. Obviously, there's not much else to say. It's Mahomes. So super safe flex play. He's going to be super popular in a captain play. He'll be a really good captain play if there's no KELCE, just because of him distributing the ball to multiple pass catchers out of the backfield and in the wide receiver corps for Kansas City. KELCE, if he plays, obviously if there's no hindrance, if there's no target, or excuse me, snap count limit or ceiling, he's in play. But if there is one, I just don't think I can go to him. Obviously, he could still get there, but at that price tag, it really comes down if he plays or not. If he's out, don't be surprised for the Chiefs to get super weird and maybe bring in 2 running back sets. Get a guy like Jerick McKinnon, who honestly went off in the backfield last year, had multiple games where he, as you can see here in the stretch, 14, 35, 34, 12, 22. He was scoring touchdowns left and right out of the backfield on just a few touches. So the Chiefs, we know they like to get weird. They're unorthodox. So if there is no KELCE, do not be afraid to take shots on those Chiefs guys, like a Toney, like McKinnon, like a Sky Moore, even a guy like, maybe Rashee Rice sees some more opportunity. If they go more, 3, 4 wide receiver sets, they can get weird. Even a guy like Clyde Edwards-Helaire could sneak into the end zone, get more involved in the pass catching game. So, Noah Gray will be that tight end that takes over the number 1 spot there. He'd be viable, but I still think I'd be more interested in going to those wide receivers or the second or third running back like Pacheco and a McKinnon if there is no KELCE. But it really comes down to KELCE. So in terms of wide receiver, obviously Toney is probably the wide receiver 1 here. If he's good to go, he does have a knee injury, but he should be fine. We know they like to run sweeps in the red zone. He's a guy who has seen a couple of those. I think he's a safe play. Don't love him, but he's a solid play. Obviously, his ceiling goes up if there's no KELCE. I think he's just a decent play. Pacheco, more of just a runner, not really involved in the pass catching game a lot. That's more of a Jerick McKinnon role, more of a Clyde Edwards-Helaire role. So for that reason, I think he's just an okay play, 6,800. I'd rather go to like a David Montgomery, but he should see 10 plus touches. He's a hard runner. I don't mind him. As you can see, he's pretty solid in terms of getting until he's 10 to 12 fantasy points. If he falls in the end zone, that's great. But we know the Chiefs like to run some weird stuff around the red zone, which could really hurt his upside. Moving on to McKinnon, as I said, if there's no KELCE, I really like taking a shot on him in the flex. We know the upside with him. You can definitely throw him in the captain spot if you're making a ton of lineups. I wouldn't do it if you're just making multiple. But once again, if KELCE's out, you can definitely get weird and take a shot on him because we know the Chiefs like to get weird. MVS, as we saw from last season, I don't think much changes. It's really just a dart throw on him. If you want to take a shot on him in the flex or captain, it just, as you can see, he has a huge ceiling if he actually gets the catches, but for the most part, I just don't love going to him at that price tag. I'd rather take a shot on a guy like Sky Moore, who should get a little bit more involved. Going to be like a gadget guy, just like KADARIUS Toney. So I think I'd feel better playing him for a cheaper price tag than a guy like MVS. Maybe for that reason, everyone's going to go to MVS. Depends on ownership. But for that reason, I'd rather just get this guy more, pay up for Jerick McKinnon than a guy like MVS. I think they all have relatively the same ceilings, even though MVS will see way more snaps than both those guys. But that's just my thoughts there. Rashid Rice, wide receiver 3/4. He'll see a few plays here and there. I don't think it's worth it to take a shot on him at that price tag. Harrison Butker, obviously kickers are very viable. Don't mind getting to him. CH, as I said, I wouldn't mind taking an absolute dart throw on him if there's no KELCE. If there's KELCE, really no need to get to him. No Gray, as I said, going to be a super popular play. Should be tied in one. Should see a few targets in this game. Maybe in the end zone he can catch a touchdown. I think it's an okay play. Obviously the price tag is nice, but don't expect him to get the same obviously usage as a guy like Travis KELCE. Richie James maybe sees a few snaps here. Um, it's just very murky when it comes to the wide receiver room for the Kansas City Chiefs, as you can see here. Toney 1, MVS 2, Sky Moore 3. Then you have Watson, Rashid Rice, Richie James, Ross. I mean, they're going to filter all these guys in. You can take your shots on them in the flex. Would probably not put any of those cheaper guys in the captain spot, but as you can see, they'll rotate guys in or out. So I'd say Toney and MVS are safe. And then when it comes to um, Sky Moore and the guys below him, it's really, really just risky in terms of how many snaps they're going to get. Because we know the Chiefs are just super weird with rotating their guys through. So it's not safe playing those Chief guys. And even the guys on the Lions, it's not safe. It's very, very random when it comes down to this both teams in this game when it comes to the wide receivers. The one guy I will say you could take it, Fortson, he's in the IR. I was going to say you could take a shot on him as a backup tight end, but you could take a shot on Blake Bell. One of those guys where, maybe they get into the red zone, they do a weird little pass to him, he scores. That could be the difference, but you don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, there is that option there. That is kind of the picks, not the picks, but that is kind of the breakdown. I know it's a long video. I apologize, as I said. Going to really tone it down for the coming videos. Tone down the rambling, but I think my favorite pick right now is going to be Khalif Raymond as the cheap option in the flex there. If there's if there's no KELCE, really like going to Mahomes as captain, but obviously that's a very safe play there. I honestly really like going to David Montgomery once again. I just like the upside there, even if he does split the carries with a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs. To do that, gonna have to get to Mahomes on the other side there. Amon Ra, not gonna throw him in for now. Let's see. I think these are my 4 favorite picks right now. Really like going double running back. I think that helps you get a little bit different, especially when you put Montgomery in the captain spot. We know he's upside with the rushing and the targets. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen in terms of the split between him and Jahmyr Gibbs. They could also have Craig Reynolds, but I think Monty has that red zone upside as we saw last year when it came to Williams over Swift. Khalif Raymond, fringe wide receiver 3. Should get some looks, has big play upside. Just a super reliable guy, so I don't mind getting to him. They will need his speed. Mahomes, obviously we know what happens with Patrick Mahomes, GOAT. And then Jerick McKinnon. As I said, if there's no KELCE, you really like into McKinnon in the flex spot. Do think they'll get weird and add in some double running back sets, some like triple, quad wide receiver sets. Maybe McKinnon's in that, so we'll have to wait and see. But these are the 4 picks for now. Montgomery, Khalif, Mahomes, McKinnon. I'll have some updates on my Twitter depending on if KELCE is in or out and go for there. So make sure to hit the like button and hit that like button and subscribe, guys. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.